All right, Mark Warnke here with PackGoats.com. Hey, I want to introduce you to the adolescent feeder. Now, we have feeder designs for babies, adolescents, and adults. And the reason we've done that is you got to keep the goats out of your feeder, because when they get poop inside of there, then they're sharing worms and it makes their worm loads heavier. But also, how do you feed a horned goat and you have them feed without being wasteful? Because as soon as a goat drops it on the ground, he's not going to eat it again. So this has been a long evolutionary process. These are you can get the plans for this on PackGoats.com, and what this is made for in the adolescents. So that's going to be like 2-year-olds to 4-year-olds, 2 and 3-year-olds, really, well, let's just say 1 to 3-year-olds. If you can see over here, I block this by having a pass-through, and that pass-through is what allows that age of goats to come into this area. So only that size of goat can fit through there and then access this. That way I keep the bigger goats out of here. This hole is engineered size-wise and height off the ground-wise to fit a 1 to 3-year-old, or smaller, of course. So what they do is they stick their head through and then they eat, and they have to put their head down and in, eat here. If I didn't have this, they would eat, pull their head up, look for who's gonna hit them, look around, food falls all over the ground, and they waste like 50% of it. They're horribly wasteful. But by keeping it in here, it works. So the dimensions, the height of this, the size of these holes, all that stuff is important. The design also comes with, if you want a roof on it, where you can extend these up and it's higher, then you build the roof over the top of it. So if you have it here like I do, where it's covered, because you can see I actually put the flakes through the back, they fall in here. I don't even have to come in here to feed these guys. I just slip a couple of flakes through and they're fed. Or you can put it outside independently with its own roof, and that all becomes very easy. The inside is really important to see how this goes, because that is what keeps them from getting out of here, both size, so come on over, both size and configuration. So what we do is we actually put 4x4 grid panels on the bottom, and by doing these 4x4 grid panels on the bottom, when a goat quote unquote steps in here, and this little centerpiece is there to push the hay to the outside and to discourage them from jumping in. But when they do, and they fall into these little grid panels, they get uncomfortable. A lot of times a goat will do it once and then they never do it again. I do have some goats that are still prone to getting in these. I have not figured out 100% how to keep them out yet, but it is very highly effective. So the other thing I like about this design is, because of just how we made it, it's easier to clean it out of all that chaff and stuff that builds up in the bottoms, and it's actually an easy way to reuse it because it doesn't mold and get nasty. So you just kind of pump this thing up, and then you can reach in here and grab this chaffy, hay looking stuff and then sprinkle it among their food. And that's really kind of premium hay. That's the leafy stuff out of the alfalfa. And they'll go in there and nibble it individually, and I really like being able to pull it out. The other thing is I like to leave these bases just off the bottom, and again, this is a part of the design that you're going to get, is that they can put their noses underneath and they'll eat along these edges as long as you keep this bedding cleaned out of it. They'll eat along these edges and they'll get those little tidbits, and they'll finish up even the stuff. You'll see them actually on their knees eating around the edge of this feeder. So this accomplishes a lot of things. Number one, it helps with waste. Number two, it does a good job keeping them out of the feeder. Number three, it allows for multiple goats to feed out of the same feeder, and that is a big thing. It's really nice to have a dominant here that leaves a submissive alone over there, and then another submissive can feed back here. So it really is a nice way to keep them out of it, and it also makes it easy to clean and has some variability. The reason I like to have them inside my barn if I can is that the waste becomes bedding, because hay and straw is very similarly priced. And so I end up using the waste as their bedding, and instead of it just going somewhere where I don't want it to, it's actually performing a function. So that's the adolescent feeder, and I hope that's helpful. Mark Warnke, PackGoats.com.